Just for Once, the 10th song in Nerdy Prudes Must Die, and Ruth Fleming's solo, sung by the amazing Lauren Lopez, is a very interesting song to say the least. All the other songs in Nerdy Prudes are very clear as to what it's trying to tell us. Dirty Girl encapsulates Grace's sexual fantasies about Max Jagerman. Cool As I Think I Am shows Pete agonizing over his status as a loser. And the summoning is exactly what it sounds like, the summoning of the Lords in Black. But Just for Once is a lot less clear on what exactly is happening and what it means for the story, or what it means to Ruth. I've seen a bit of fandom debate over what the song actually means, whether it's real in the Hatchetfield universe or if this entire ballad takes place completely in Ruth's head. Today, I'm going to think way too much about this stupid song and the scene surrounding it to try and figure out what the deal is with Just for Once. First, I'm going to go over important moments from the scene that takes place just before the number, then the story the song itself is telling us, then how the song factors into the story of Ruth Fleming, and lastly, we're going to go over some logistical questions that I had about the number itself. In the couple scenes before Just for Once, we're introduced to the barbecue monologues the show Hatchetfield High is putting on. We see 4 performers running a scene from the show, presumably the beginning, as they're introducing what the concept of the barbecue monologues actually is. The director then stops them to give notes and tells Ruth that she missed a lighting cue from up in the booth. Ruth comes down and blames one of the actors for the mistake.
Well, someone got the cue line wrong. It's supposed to be, I want to remember who I used to be, Trevor.
The director then tells the actors to take a 10 and tells Ruth to focus one of the lights before she walks off stage. We then follow an angry Ruth, bitter that she has to take care of the show all by herself. She freezes when she gets center stage, reveling in the feeling of the spotlight being on her for once, instead of her always shining the light on others, literally, in this sense. In this light, for the first time, Ruth begins to toy with the possibility of her being center stage one day. She thinks she could do it. She knows she could do it, only if it wasn't for her anxiety and self-consciousness always getting in the way. She dreams about herself being in the spotlight, her being the focus for once, and then the song begins. The song itself begins with a woman, who I'll be calling the woman for the rest of the segment for lack of a better name, standing by a grill and arguing with her husband Maury, who's looking for his grill brush. Maury then leaves, supposedly to go look for his brush, and leaves the woman to look after the grill. We then learn that she's 40 years old, and today's her birthday. This is fully speculation, but I like to assume that the food Maury's grilling for her is for the birthday party, and she has this breakdown on her birthday 30-90 style. We immediately learn that the woman is very unhappy with her life. She comments that they installed a new window in their home that was absolutely dreamlike, but not her dream. We then learn about her kids and get more statements about how she's unhappy in the life that she lives. She even buys shutters to block out the life happening around her, just outside of her window.
And life goes on as I shop for shutters to obstruct the view.
The song then goes into the chorus, where the woman laments over the passion she feels is missing from her life. She doesn't feel that spark she once felt. She can't remember what living life can truly be anymore because she's been stuck in a monotony for years. The next verse tells us more about the woman's life. She had cancer at 39 years old and reveled in the attention that she received during her chemotherapy. The woman then blows up about the sad aftermath of this therapy.
It fucking worked, I'm fucking here, he's fucking her, I'm disappointed. There's still carpet in the bathroom.
She's still alive, but her husband is cheating on her. She survived cancer, her husband is unfaithful, and now there's a gross carpet in the bathroom after all that she's been through. The woman and her husband Maury live a perfect cookie-cutter life. They have a beautiful home, a nice pool, 2 dogs that they love, and wonderful kids who Maury seems to hate. The woman feels as if she's performing for an audience, pretending that she's okay with this bland life she's living. Her life is a stage for those around her to watch as she slowly breaks down. The bridge shows us the woman agonizing over decisions she has to make, whether to flip the burgers and whether to continue to let Maury watch as the years destroy her.
Should I flip the burgers now? Should I double check it's well done on the outside, not within?
The burgers represent herself, looking perfectly done on the outside but being raw and unfinished on the inside. They're slowly burning away, and all under Maury's control. The song ends with the woman mourning her dancing past as she gives away the tap shoes she never got the chance to wear.
I used to dance.
She used to dance, but not anymore. Now, Saturdays are for the kids, and her bathroom is covered in carpet. So what does any of this have to do with Ruth? Well, for Ruth, the song is obviously much less literal. She's not a 40-year-old woman going through chemotherapy, but there's still an important meaning within the song for Ruth. First of all, this is Ruth's chance to prove herself in a way. In the scene before the song starts, she's convinced that she's a much better actor than Caitlin, one of the characters we see performing the barbecue monologues. She's proving to herself that she's just as good as Caitlin, and if not better. As Ruth starts to sing the song, she goes into her theatrics, making big movements and doing some silly dances. But as she gets closer and closer to the chorus, this stops. The dramatics and the theater kidness of it all disappears. Ruth becomes still and serious and real. I think that in these moments during the song, she's talking about herself. Ruth laments about her burning desire to be the center of attention, her passion for theater that hasn't been fulfilled. During the chorus, she also implies that she's been in the spotlight before but lost it somehow, saying she wants to remember what a life can be and feel the spark that I once knew. She wants to go back to whatever she's reminiscing on. You can see on her face as she looks into the distance, she's hoping and praying that something will finally change for her. Once the chorus ends, she's back to these exaggerated movements and silly dancing, back into character and out of her head. After the iconic bridge where Lauren Lopez reminds us all that she's a soprano, Ruth freezes, possibly in shock, from what I can tell, maybe surprised at what she can actually do, and slowly accepting that she'll never be able to do this in front of anyone because of her.
If it wasn't for my anxiety, my greasy skin, my rainforest pits.
Lastly, at the end of the song, she goes back to her quiet, real self that we saw during the chorus. She stands still, looking straight out into the audience, her eyes sad and longing. "I used to dance," she said. She used to dance. Now this could possibly just be about the character in the song and not really about Ruth, but I like to overthink, so just walk with me here. Maybe Ruth did dance, but this line could possibly confirm that she did used to perform at some point. She used to be in the spotlight until her anxiety got worse as she got older and overtook her passion. Or maybe she got bullied out of it as a kid. She then hangs her head down, and Ruth slowly starts to walk off stage. So as I was watching and rewatching just for once to write this video, one thing kept bothering me. One question that wouldn't leave my mind. The question of, is this real? I mean, obviously the song is real. It's probably going to be one of my top songs for this year, but I'm talking about within the context of Nerdy Prudes Must Die. In most musicals, songs are just vehicles to tell the story. In Newsies, there aren't hundreds of newsboys flipping and tap dancing in the streets of New York, but the music and dance numbers are the way the story is being told to us. I assumed that this was the same with Nerdy Prudes, that every song is just the way that they're telling the story. Steph and Pete aren't actually singing at each other in the middle of Beanies, and Grace isn't really spinning around like a record player as they plan to kill Max. But if that was the case with Just for Once, then why does Max boo her at the end of the number?
You fucking suck, Flimwad!
He boos her. He wouldn't boo her if the performance wasn't actually happening, right? So what's going on? I've come up with 3 different possibilities as to what's truly happening in this number, so hear me out. The first possibility is that this performance is all completely real, and Ruth is truly belting it out on that stage like she never could if her anxiety wasn't stopping her. She's that classic trope of the nerd that's secretly really talented and hot and awesome. Only this time Ruth doesn't get another act for character growth because of Max. He sees her finally get her moment in the spotlight, her moment to shine, and cuts it short, booing her through the sea of applause from the audience, and then killing her in a humiliating way. We already know that Nerdy Prudes loves to bend stereotypes until they break, so why wouldn't it be this one as well? Now I hear you at home might be thinking,
this theory isn't plausible because everyone would have heard her, right? I mean, the cast only went backstage to run lines. They can't be that far away. If this were real, it should be heard immediately.
And yes, that is a great assumption, viewer at home, but they also didn't hear Ruth screaming as she was murdered, something that we know for a fact really happened within the context of the show. If they wouldn't be able to hear Ruth screaming bloody murder, then they also wouldn't have heard any of her performance. The second possibility is that Just for Once isn't real, but not like any other musical numbers. See, instead of the song only being a method to tell the story to the audience, the song might also be fully happening in Ruth's head. All my proof for this theory comes from the moment before the song starts, when Ruth is standing center stage and thinking about what it would be like when she finally gets to be in the spotlight.
In my dreams, I'm the star of the show. In my dreams, it's my barbecue.
In her dreams, it's her barbecue. In her dreams, she's in the spotlight. After that, we get a very specific transition into the song, a dream sequence transition. Mystical music plays as the footage fades to a different camera angle. Lauren Lopez waves her hands around as the lighting changes to signify the switch to Ruth's imagination. And yeah, Max boos her at the end, but Max does a lot of things in this show that don't make sense. We've already seen him completely shatter the fourth wall, and that was before he turned into this zombie demon quarterback we see him as for the rest of the show. And when he is revived, he comes back with superpowers. So what are the chances that one of these powers is mind reading or something? I mean, weirder things have happened in Hatchetfield. Or maybe he just saw her on stage and decided to take advantage of her stage fright by booing her, even though she never really performed anything. I mean, Max is kind of an idiot. I can see it happening. The final possibility I could come up with, and the one that makes the most sense to me, is that the song Just for Once isn't real, but Ruth really is performing on that stage. The greater implied context of the song Just for Once is that it's from the barbecue monologues the show Hatchetfield High is putting on. But for a show called the Barbecue Monologues, why would there be a song? Monologues are pieces of dialogue just performed by one person. If the show had songs, then why not call it the Barbecue Ballads or something? It doesn't make sense that this song is from the show, meaning that this song is just for us. But the song isn't the only thing that Ruth does in this scene. Before the song even starts, Ruth is delivering dialogue, presumably from the barbecue monologues, and the song ends with that as well. My theory is that Ruth was never really singing on that stage, but she did perform a monologue from the show. This theory accounts for the dream sequence and for Max booing at the end. The dream transition was to show us that the song wasn't truly happening, but Max did boo the real performance that Ruth gave. But of course, that's just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching this entire video. It means a lot to me. I have been pathologically thinking about this musical since I rewatched it a couple weeks ago. Like, the hyperfixation is just back in swing. And Just for Once is one of those things that I never really paid attention to the first couple of times I watched it. But on a rewatch, I was just like, what does this song mean? Like, what's going on? There's a lot to talk about in this show. Every single thing Jeff Blim and Nick Lang have touched has so much subtext, so I just felt like there was so much going on with this song, and there's probably something that I missed. So, if you do find something that I missed, or you have other opinions or something, then please comment down below, because I would love to hear anything you have to say. Please subscribe, please like, so the YouTube algorithm knows that people like to watch me. Thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.